Extreme weather is coming. The government knows, but won't tell you. Despite major hurricanes, deadly heat waves, catastrophic floods, and other extreme weather events, governments around the world are remarkably silent. Why are they not raising the alarm? Could they be concealing important information from the public? Meteorologists are warning of record-breaking natural disasters. In this video, we will go through 7 possible reasons why officials might be keeping the truth under wraps. Number 7, preventing mass panic. Governments understand that public panic can be more dangerous than the disaster itself. If people suddenly learned that a storm stronger than any in recorded history was approaching, or that a heat wave could kill thousands within days, the immediate response might be widespread chaos. Supermarkets would be overrun, with people hoarding food, water, and essential supplies. Gas stations could run dry as people rush to evacuate en masse. Roads and highways could become jammed, making orderly evacuation nearly impossible. Banks might experience sudden cash withdrawals, leading to financial instability, and businesses might shut down in anticipation of catastrophe. Worse yet, public fear could turn into lawlessness, looting, violent clashes, and a breakdown of civil order as people scramble for survival. In order to keep people calm, the government may decide to suppress or minimize the intensity of extreme weather because it knows how rapidly society can collapse in such situations. They could think it is preferable to deliver knowledge in small, controlled doses rather than run the danger of revealing the whole truth at once. However, this strategy has a price. By hiding important information, many individuals are left unprepared, which raises the possibility of fatalities and damage when the calamity occurs. Number 6, economic stability concerns. In addition to destroying structures and scenery, disasters rock economies to their foundations. The financial ramifications could be disastrous if governments were completely open about the frequency and severity of impending extreme weather occurrences. When consumers forsake residences that are no longer safe or insurable, real estate markets in high-risk areas will collapse. Insurance companies may refuse to cover properties in specific places or drastically raise premiums, making homeownership unsustainable for many. These businesses are already having difficulty keeping up with the rise in climate-related claims. Stock market volatility would result from investors pulling out of companies that are susceptible to climate damage. Recurrent climate shocks might further destabilize supply chains, which are already brittle due to previous disruptions, as ports, highways, and agricultural output are affected. Extreme weather warnings have the potential to cause the very financial crises governments are attempting to prevent, as they depend on stable economic activity to keep the peace. Officials may choose damage control over disclosing the entire extent of the threats that lie ahead. This involves releasing a restricted amount of information, downplaying the worst-case situations, and telling the public that everything is under control when in fact it is not. Number 5, lack of preparedness. Experts have been advising governments for decades to improve disaster response systems, fortify infrastructure, and develop long-term plans to cope with catastrophic weather. However, a lot of governments have not acted fast enough, putting their cities and people in risk. Many areas lack resilient energy infrastructures, updated drainage systems, or adequate flood barriers to withstand severe weather events. With insufficient evacuation preparations and overburdened fire services, urban growth has put more people in danger in areas vulnerable to wildfires. A sudden surge in heat stroke victims or injuries from disasters may be too much for the healthcare system, which is already overburdened by other crises. There may be widespread public indignation, political unrest, and demands for leadership resignations if governments were to publicly acknowledge the entire scope of their preparedness deficiencies. Officials may decide to keep silent or provide flimsy warnings in the hopes of managing the impact after the fact, rather than proactively addressing it, rather than confronting the consequences of their own inactivity. Number 4, military and strategic implications. Extreme weather has significant ramifications for national security, and governments may categorize information to stop possible enemies from taking advantage of weaknesses. An early announcement of an impending storm that is predicted to flood vital infrastructure, interfere with communication networks, or damage power grids could lead to cyber attacks, terrorism, or geopolitical problems. For example, foreign countries or rogue organizations might take advantage of the situation to conduct cyber warfare or military aggression, while defenses are down if a hurricane were anticipated to destroy important naval bases or missile defense systems. Extreme weather disasters can also interrupt food and water supply, which can result in riots and social unrest. Security agencies need to prepare for these situations, but they may not want to make them public. In certain instances, changing weather patterns may have an impact on military operations themselves. For example, rising sea levels may impede naval fleet movements, while heat waves may impair Air Force capabilities by affecting jet performance. Governments may decide to keep such material secret rather than frightening the public with the worst-case scenarios, putting national security ahead of openness. Number 3, big business interests. Government regulations are frequently heavily influenced by corporate interests, and many influential companies have a stake in limiting the frequency of extreme weather warnings. For instance, the fossil fuel industry has been denying climate change for decades in order to evade laws that would reduce its earnings. Governments would be forced to accept responsibility if they publicly acknowledged the imminence of impending climate-related disasters. This might result in expensive legal actions, new environmental legislation, and significant financial losses. Additionally, there are billions of dollars at stake in the insurance sector. If people realized how vulnerable some areas were, they may demand higher payments or cease buying policies altogether, which would cause the firm to go bankrupt. In the meantime, the transportation sector, agribusiness, and real estate developers all rely on stability. Governments may be unwilling to offer grave warnings that could disrupt these businesses due to pressure from corporate lobbyists. Instead, they may choose to deliver information that is diluted to maintain business as normal, even at the price of human life. Number 2, gradual disclosure strategy. Psychologists and political strategists know that presenting harsh facts gradually, as opposed to all at once, increases the likelihood that people will accept them. The psychological effects might be severe if the government abruptly declared that weather patterns have reached a tipping point and that significant disasters will soon become commonplace. While some may become so hardened that they completely disregard the signals, others may experience terror. Authorities may decide to gradually disclose the truth about climate catastrophes by disseminating information gradually. This lessens the possibility of widespread hysteria by allowing the populace to gradually acclimate. This tactic does have drawbacks, though, as many people are kept in the dark about the severity of the situation and are unable to take the required safety measures in a timely manner. Although a gradual approach could be useful in influencing public opinion, it also runs the risk of leaving communities unprepared for the growing threats that lie ahead. Number 1, climate engineering and manipulation. The idea that extreme weather phenomena might not be wholly natural is among the most contentious. With technologies like cloud seeding, atmospheric aerosol spraying, and weather modification projects being investigated in various capacities, the idea of geoengineering human interference in the Earth's climate system has long been contested. Governments may not want the public to be aware of the full scope of their technological experimentation if they have been using it for military or climate change mitigation goals. Admitting to climate engineering could lead to international conflicts or public indignation, among other ethical, legal, and geopolitical issues. The unintentional effects of human industrial activity, such as pollution, deforestation, and ocean warming, may be aggravating extreme weather in ways that governments are unaware of or do not wish to recognize, even in the absence of intentional weather manipulation. Officials can evade accountability and maintain control over public opinion by keeping climate science and engineering projects under wraps. As extreme weather events become more frequent, more intense, and more unpredictable, the government's lack of transparency raises serious concerns. The question is, should we demand full transparency, or is the government's secrecy actually protecting us? The answer could determine whether we survive the storms ahead or fall victim to them. If you liked our video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel.